These are my 4 beautiful children, and I teach them to fail. I was a wrestler at the University of Virginia, and in the sport of college wrestling, the NCAA Division I National Championships is like the Super Bowl. It's aired live, prime time on ESPN. Well over 100,000 people attend this 3-day event that determines not only the national team champions, but also the individual Division I All-Americans. And it's every wrestler's dream to be a Division I All-American. It had been my dream since I started wrestling when I was in 1st grade. Statistically, it's actually harder for a high school wrestler to become a Division I All-American than it is for a high school football player to make it to the pros. First, you have to qualify for the championships, and I did that my freshman year. I qualified for the championships, but I failed to achieve my dream. My sophomore year, again, I qualified for the championships, but again, I lost. My junior year was pretty much a repeat of the prior 2 years. I qualified for the championships, but again, my season ended in defeat with me in the locker room, my face buried in a towel, in tears. The sense of self-doubt and hopelessness was just overwhelming. I'd eliminated nearly every non-essential activity in my life just so I could have a shot at achieving my dream. But I failed 3 times. And there was nothing more I could do. I couldn't possibly work any harder. I couldn't run more miles. I couldn't lift more weights. I couldn't watch more film. There's just not enough hours in the day. Why can't I do this, I thought? What's wrong with me? Maybe I just don't have what it takes. Maybe it's not meant to be. You've been there too. You failed. Maybe you were passed over for a promotion at work multiple times. Maybe you were rejected from your first college choice. Maybe it was something far worse. But whatever it was, I want you to understand this. Failure is an inevitable part of life, even for the most successful people on the planet. In fact, it's a necessary step on the path to success. Tom Watson, the founder of IBM, said, if you want to succeed, double your failure rate. So, if the purpose of our schools is to equip our children with the tools necessary to succeed, why are we not teaching them about failure? We grew up with this distorted view of the world where we think that failure is not supposed to happen, and when it does, it means we're doing something wrong. But that's not the case, because failure isn't the opposite of success. Failure is a necessary part of success. But where we get stuck is we believe that when we fail, that we're not good enough, or we're not smart enough, or not capable enough. My senior season, I had one more shot at achieving my dream. Again, I qualified for the championships. I beat my first 3 opponents, and I had just one more to beat in order to achieve my goal. And that was the 4th-ranked wrestler in the country, and I had never beaten anybody in the top 5, so I'd have to wrestle the match of my life. I'd have to draw on my past failures and learn from them to overcome not only my opponent, but far more daunting was my own self-doubt. And this is where that positive voice in my ear that was my coach was so important, because he believed in me. Because he believed in me. And my whole career came down to this one match, and I won. Up until this point, I judged my self-worth based off of my wins, but it was the losses that taught me that it's okay to believe in yourself and then fail, but still believe in yourself and fail again. So how do we get our children to understand this? How do we teach this to our children? How do we get them to embrace failure, to understand that failure is not an ending, it's a beginning, it's a building block for success? What if instead of just teaching them about the amazing political accomplishments of Abraham Lincoln, what if we also teach them that Abraham Lincoln failed in business, he failed in politics, and he had a nervous breakdown all before becoming president of the United States of America? Because that's why I teach my children to fail. What if instead of just teaching our students about the scientific discoveries of Marie Curie, what if we also teach them that she was rejected from the prestigious French Academy of the Sciences? Instead of quitting or lowering her expectations, she sunk herself into her work and became the first ever female Nobel Prize winner in history. That's why I teach my children to fail. What if in gym class, we don't just teach our students about the rules of dodgeball and basketball, but we also teach them that 26 times in his NBA career, Michael Jordan was trusted with the game-winning shot and failed. That's why I teach my children to fail. That is why I teach my children to fail. What What if after missing a game-winning shot, Michael Jordan just believed that he wasn't good enough? What if Marie Curie just lowered her expectations? What if Abraham Lincoln, after his first 7 political defeats, what if he quit? How would our world be different? So I teach my children to fail. I teach them to fail by being that voice that they don't yet have, that positive voice that tells them that they can, not just despite their failures, but because of their failures. And I teach my children to fail. I teach my children to fail by giving them examples of people who have struggled and failed, yet it still achieved something great. I teach my children to fail. I teach them that failure is not a bad thing, and when they fail, they're in good company and they're on the right track. Because if they want to create rich, satisfying lives of purpose, they need to understand how to fail. And whether they change the course of history or simply write their own history, they have to understand how to fail. And so I wish the same for you. So get out there and fail.